There is an elite group of people that sit above governments. They control banks and central banks. They are in control of politicians. They own the media. They fund conflicts all over the world. They scorch the earth and feel joy and bliss. They sit in the shadows knowing that despite their unmatched power, they fear the majority. Welcome to a glimpse behind the curtain. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, we are going to look at the groups of individuals that sit in the shadows. I'm just going to cover some basic points. Today, right now, as of this recording, we have the Bilderberg meetings going on, and they are such an important group of people. And I thought that this was a very timely episode. So let's begin with this. You are looking at the 1,318 transnational corporations that form the core of the economy. Super connected companies are red, very connected companies are yellow. The size of the dot represents revenue. So you'll see this as a graphical representation of how these things work. I'm going to show you something here. There are 147 companies that control everything. The average person doesn't realize this, but it should be known to the public. You may have seen this before. I have covered it here on the channel a few years ago, but I thought it was really important to discuss this to get it through the average person's mind that there are groups of people out there that really do control everything. It's not a theory. It's real. Three systems theorists at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich have taken a database listing 37 million companies and investors worldwide and analyzed 43,000 transnational corporations and share ownerships linking them. Okay, so they did this model, put it all together, and they came up with this. They built a model of who owns what and what their revenues are and mapped the whole edifice of economic power. And they really did find the conclusion here. They're all interconnected. If you look at the document, I'm going to show you in just a moment, it's ridiculous how they have formulas, like pages and pages of formulas on how they came up with this. It's not necessarily just a, some sort of spreadsheet. They discovered that global corporate control has a distinct bow tie shape with a dominant core of 147 firms radiating out from the middle. Each of these 147 own interlocking stakes of one another, and together they control 40% of the wealth in the network. A total of 737 control 80% of it all. The top 20 are at the bottom of the post. That is, say the paper's authors, the first map of the structure of global corporate control. When you understand that the total of 737 companies, just a handful really, in the grand scheme, own 80%. But you look at that, 147 really does have the power. Now, how do you control the whole world? You only need to control 147 companies. And how do you control 147 companies? By controlling a few people at the top. A few people from each company, and you have full control. Here's a list in that document. They show you the top 50, and it's the usual suspects. Okay, we'll look on here. It's mostly financial companies. Of course, they've got all the money. They've got the printing press. Barclays, we're looking here, JP Morgan. Going down, Vanguard, UBS, Merrill Lynch, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, Bank of New York, Goldman Sachs, and many more. So there's the list here, the top 50. In this document, like I said, it's actually interesting just to flip through it to see the formulas that they came up with. It's crazy, okay? So I will put that in the links under the sources as always, so you can check that out for yourself. I won't bore you with that. One of the most important groups is a public group, and that is the Council on Foreign Relations, the CFR. Largely unbeknownst to the general public, executives and top journalists of almost all major U.S. news outlets have long been members of the influential Council on Foreign Relations, established in 1921 as a private, bipartisan organization to awaken America to its worldwide responsibilities. That's a quote. They have a website. They are real, I promise you. The CFR and its close to 5,000 elite members have for decades shaped U.S. foreign policy and public disclosure about it. As well, as a well-known council member once explained, the goal has indeed been to establish a global empire, albeit a benevolent one. Yes, they want global dominance. Yes, they want global governance, but they want it for good. Sure. Based on official membership rosters, the following illustration for the first time depicts the extensive media network of the CFR and its two main international affiliate organizations, the Bilderberg Group, covering mainly US and Europe, and the Trilateral Commission, covering North America, Europe, and East Asia. So we have here a connection that brings them all together. The CFR is so important. Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg. Right now, Bilderberg is meeting and they are not allowed to have any media present. There's no reporting. Everybody who tries to get in is detained, put away. And what is going on behind closed doors? What's really going on when you have people from every major company? You have people in the highest levels of government. You have the people in defense from US and other places. You have this, queens and kings and all sorts of people meeting together. What are the discussions about? We don't know. There is a website of the Bilderberg Group, and quite frankly, I don't believe that it is truly, this is my opinion here, that they have the Bilderberg website, and I don't think that's actually the Bilderberg Group creating a website, but ultimately that doesn't even matter, because what's going on behind closed doors, we don't know. This here is an important chart, this one and the next one, in fact. The Council on Foreign Relations, you'll see it here for yourself. It lists, the font is really, really small, but it lists all the people from all these different departments, different, the media, for example, Hollywood, you're looking at the CIA, the think tanks, different commissions, whether they were in Congress before and all that, and you could just list out the people and their involvement. It's so important to realize, for the average person, think about it. You may know about the CFR, right? But the average person, they don't know what the CFR is. They don't understand the significance of the CFR. They actually laugh at you, and they have this sick sort of laugh when you talk about global control. Don't even get into it all the way. I never do, because they won't listen ever. But if you just sort of mention that, I don't believe politicians are in control, they laugh because they vote. And they believe that their vote counts, and they truly do believe that what they see in front of them is everything. That's it. Yes, there's a little bit of corruption. Yes, there's some bribery and things, but ultimately, there's no way that a small group of people could control the whole world. And that is truly saddening, because they were doing it thousands of years ago. They were doing it several hundred years ago. And are we suggesting that they gave up? That they stopped? Is that the mentality? Have you thought for a second? Quite frankly, I don't think they have. So look into it. If you haven't, you need to understand what this is. The American Empire and its media. Bilderberg, Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission. Take a look. You're seeing all different companies. It might be hard to see them, but anyway, you have all the media corporations involved at every level. Whether it's CNN, Wall Street Journal, publications that are supposedly on the left, publications that are supposedly on the right. And yet, they meet together and they shake hands and they're best friends. The left and right doesn't exist. There's the top and the bottom. And guess what? You're not on the top. The CFR is very important, and I say this if you remember the speech, Hillary Clinton goes up in front of the CFR and says, to paraphrase, "I'm really happy that we have the Council on Foreign Relations right around the corner so that they can tell us what to do." That's really what she said. That they can tell us what to do. They take orders from those that sit above governments. These think tanks, secret societies, and the richest and most powerful elite that we've never even heard of are controlling those below. There are different levels. Some say that there are basically 3 high levels. So you would say like somebody like a Bush would be in that bottom third of that third tier there. And then the second tier, you can go up to the Rockefeller level, the super rich. And then you go up another level, and that is those in the secret societies nobody's ever heard of, perhaps even the Rothschilds. Some of them would pertain to the top of the food chain there, but I do think that there is a even higher group than that. Many of you may have heard of the black nobility. These secret societies are not very secret, although the black nobility is one of those that's rarely ever getting any publicity. Something like a Bilderberg is starting to make it into the mainstream now a little bit, but the black nobility sits in the shadows, and it's important that we understand all of these secret societies and just keep it in the back of our mind. Maybe it doesn't make a difference, but just knowing that there's a group of people controlling this person. And how do they do it all? It's through the process of compartmentalization, something I talk about very often. Now think about this. If you worked in a major corporation, one of the big boys, right? Financial company, a bank. You may have seen this, maybe in the government. You have a department, and in your department does what it needs to do. You're simply a spoke on the wheel. You are a cog in the machine. And you, let's just say, file paperwork. You file paperwork and you file paperwork, and that's it. What's on the paperwork, you don't know. You don't worry about it. That's done by the payroll department. That's done by the accounting department, okay? So the accounting department, they output everything onto those papers. Okay, so all they do is output it. And then a distributions team comes and picks up the paper and delivers the paper to the other person. They don't read the paper. They don't print out the paper. They simply deliver it. That's their job. And then you have the C-level executives, the top of the company. They don't know what happens with that printing on the paper. They don't know about the delivery of the paper. All they know is that that process is happening and it's done with. If there's a problem, maybe they hear about it. But that's it. They just do what they do, you do what you do, and that's all that happens. It's compartmentalization. Everyone just does their job. You can't ask questions. You don't even know what to ask. They keep everyone in the dark on purpose or by accident. It's just the way it is sometimes. That's in a corporation. Same thing goes in with government institutions. But I assure you, it's so easy to do, especially when 147 corporations control it all. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. I just scratched the surface today, but I hope that it did enlighten you to just keep thinking. Keep thinking of what's going on behind the shadows. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, definitely would find these books even more informative. This is the financial education that was not taught in schools, and you can get it here in these 2 books. If you want to flip through them for yourself, click on the link in the description below. Take care.